Namaste, madam.
Namaste. Namaste.
Namaskar.
Namaste, madam. Welcome to AYUR Talks. This is a forum of Vigyan Bharati. You might be aware of it. And I welcome you most cordially to this platform. And I will give you a brief introduction for the benefit of our viewers and other participants.
Namaste, Pavanji. Looking forward to this.
Namaste, madam. Madam Jayanti Raviji, a scientist, civil servant, performing vocalist, administrator, thinker, and a widely traveled developmental practitioner. Dr. Jayanti Ravi entails myriad realms of experience in her multifaceted career. Passion for human development and service to humanity best describes her mission. She holds a master's degree in nuclear physics from the University of Madras, MPA from Harvard University, and a PhD specializing in technology enhanced education from MS University, Baroda. She has also studied at the London School of Economics and Political Sciences. So, really a nuclear physicist amidst us. When we see, is it a nuclear physics? So, from nuclear physics to economics to politics, she has straddled the whole spectrum of human endeavor. She has authored books, case studies, newspaper articles, published papers in international journals. She has also guided doctoral students and is a visiting faculty at Harvard University. Ma'am, that is stupendous. Her professional repertoire includes serving as DDO in Sabarkantha, collector of Panchamahal, director of NSC in the Prime Minister's office, in addition to Principal Secretary and Commissioner Rural Development, Gujarat. She has championed the Swachh Bharat mission for rural sanitation in the state for 2 consecutive years. As Principal Secretary and Commissioner, Health and Family Welfare, her multidisciplinary, innovative, and creative approach to problem solving has provided results and outcomes that have successfully worked across various sectors. Currently, as Principal Secretary, Health and Family Welfare Department, overall head of the Department of Health and Family Welfare, which involves monitoring of proper health and medical treatment network in the state, ensuring proper food and drug administration, adequate and timely availability of drugs, surgical items, medical equipment, PPE in the hospitals, development of infrastructure and budgeting and accounting for the whole department. Right now, amidst the corona crisis. She has been awarded the prestigious Times Power Woman Award of 2018 and the Nari Ratna of Fine Arts Society Chembur. She has also been honored by the Wheels Foundation of USA, Franklin Institute, Philadelphia. So Nari Ratna amongst us, Power Woman from Times. So we welcome you, ma'am, to this forum. It is a well-known adage that actions speak louder than words. So let us all hear the loud and clear words emanating from action. Action-packed Nari Ratna amidst. Welcome, madam, for this session. I request Geeta ji to lead the questions, please.
Thank you. In fact, we would like to Thank you very much, madam, for taking your time off and being here with us to discuss in AYUR Talks. AYUR Talks is a project which has been uh, organized by a webinar series organized by the World Ayurveda Foundation. The World Ayurveda Foundation is the proponents of World Ayurveda Congress, which is the largest platform internationally for Ayurveda. It has started in 2002 and it has continued its journey across the country. We had until now 8 chapters of this happening in different parts of the country, and the ninth chapter is supposed to have happened in 2020, but owing to COVID crisis and the international travel restrictions, we are actually keeping it for the next year. But as part of the World Ayurveda Foundations and World Ayurveda Congress's legacy, we are organizing this AYUR Talks program. The current idea is to bring in people who really make things happen in the current scenario, especially in the area of Ayush and also for Ayurveda specifically. In this context, I will have to inform you, or I will have to tell that it is Vijnana Bharati who is supporting the World Ayurveda Foundation to organize this program. Vijnana Bharati has been the key organization which had helped to bring together World Ayurveda Foundation, and we are also supported by National Ayurveda Student and Youth Association (NASYA), and also by Journal of Ayurveda Integrative Medicine, which is the most important journal in the Ayurveda in integrative medicine sphere across the globe. So it is with one of the best high impact factors in this particular spectrum of activity. I should also inform you about our very beloved support, which is being very beloved supporter, Dhoot Papeshwar Limited. Sri Dhoot Papeshwar Limited has kindly agreed and has been supporting World Ayurveda Congresses over several of its chapters. And this time, when we offered the Dhoot Papeshwar the possibility of supporting this particular program, this particular web series, without any kind of further discussion, they had agreed to come and support us in this program. So I would like to thank Dhoot Papeshwar for on behalf of World Ayurveda Foundation, Vibha and Nasya and Jain for supporting this wonderful program. AYUR Talks is a pursuit for wisdom. And you know that wisdom usually comes by asking the right questions. So some of the most important answers in life comes from asking the questions, and especially the question why. And why does a virus infection turn fatal, or why did not the budget allocate money for our sector? Why did the policymaker include traditional medicine or Ayurveda in COVID management? Why did things happen and do not? The questions why leads you to some of the most important discoveries in your life, and it helps you to gain clarity, guides you to correct yourself and understand and overcome conflicts and be more wise and aware. In AYUR Talks, we ask questions why to some of the most influential persons in Ayurveda and health sector on their choices and decisions. We ask them why they did what they did. We invite you to a journey and that shall provide you valuable insights to the why of things that influence your life and profession, to the why of the decisions taken, to the factors that influence the influences. AYUR Talks is something which we have inaugurated yesterday and has had the fortune of having the most sought after policy maker in the country as far as Ayurveda is, our Ayush is concerned, who had declared a lot of things much before many of the policy makers in the country has even thought about it and has done it and then declared it. So I would like to ask the first question to Madam Jayanti Ravi, the Health Secretary of Gujarat. And Madam, with your permission, this is the first question. What supported your decision to include Ayush interventions in COVID-19 management? So we would like to know why you did that.
So first of all, thank you for this opportunity, and I'm a great believer in Ayurveda, Ayush, homeopathy, all of this. So I think the answer to your question, what is it that supported a decision to include Ayush interventions in COVID, certainly is that in Gujarat, you found that there is a great level of awareness, a great deal of acceptability, not just acceptability, a passive acceptability, but a great deal of active interest, popularity for all these Ayush practices. And then the leadership of the state also realized the importance of Ayush. And at a personal level, I too have been a great believer in Ayush. And so all these things put together, we felt that there is a certain credibility, a certain rapport that the Ayush doctors, the whole network of people that we have on the ground also lent itself for an acceptability by the common people. And so all these made us feel that Ayush further also goes to the root of the problem than just symptomatically dealing with it. So when this COVID-19 pandemic sort of erupted, we felt that when you don't have a very well established, there's no solid cure per se, there's no vaccine, there's no cure in terms of allopathy. So if you can really treat this by boosting the immunity of the people by our Ayush traditions, and also see what are the medicines that the Ayush tradition suggests, both for prophylaxis and treatment, we would certainly, this would help us also understand the disease better and see if we can give better relief and better treatment for the public at large.
Pavanji, could you take up the next question?
As a natural progression from why, I will naturally ask what. So, why did you choose Ayush? You gave the very good answer, sir. We are very happy for that. But what exactly and how was it implemented in the state? What sectors, what aspects of Ayush, and how it were implemented for COVID management in Gujarat state?
So Pavanji, it began, the how and the what starts way back in March. So in the beginning, first week of March itself, we felt that if we got all our experts together from both the Ayurvedic segment and also from the homeopathy segment, and we had a discussion, since we have a very big network of dispensaries, hospitals belonging to Ayurveda and also to homeopathy, we felt if we can get some of these top experts of the state, and we came up with a lot of suggestions. And so we actually put together a series of guidelines for the state. And coincidentally, it really matched and mapped very well also with the guidelines that the Ayush ministry brought out subsequently, maybe within a short span of a day or so. So we first decided to go about this prophylaxis in a very big way. And very interestingly, we started also with all our the legislative assembly members, the MLAs, because at that time the legislative assembly was also in session, and we felt that if we distribute these medicines and talk about this with all of them, it will have a very snowballing positive multiplier effect, and that when they go back to their constituencies, they can also push for this. And we did find that the response was also overwhelming. Similarly, with all our honorable ministers, even with various senior officers belonging to the administrative service and other services, almost all the government offices as well. That was a time when we distributed these medicines, particularly at that time, the focus was more on homeopathy, arsenicum album potency 30. We thought, let us create a huge set of awareness by all these people and ensure that prophylaxis starts in a big way. But subsequently, we also got a little more confident. And once the quarantine system began, from almost the 11th of April, we started using prophylaxis in a big way in our quarantine centers. And this, for us, was, I would say, a very big breakthrough. So in all, there were nearly 27,706 people that were administered Ayush prophylaxis in the quarantine center. And these are, as you all know, people who have been in direct contact with people who have turned positive, but they are still not positive. So when they were in the quarantine center, these prophylactic doses were given to them, and depending on their choice, we gave them the option. Some of them opted, only this was all done only with consent. Some of them opted for Ayurveda, some opted for homeopathy. And so of the 27,706 people that we administered prophylaxis of AYUSH, combination of both of these, I mean, either this or that, we found that nearly 99.68%, so 27,620 of them, when subsequently the test was done, they turned out negative, which meant that they did not contract the disease. And again, surprisingly, out of the 86 people who were found positive, 93% of them, which is about 80 of them, were uh, asymptomatic. That is, they had no symptoms at all, and there were only 6 of them which were symptomatic. And out of the 6 that were symptomatic, also when they were admitted to hospitals, we found that they had a very mild condition. The presentation of the disease was very mild, so they could be discharged very soon, and they did not have any of the problems. Now, progressively, as while all this was going on, as we said, we started with prophylaxis, and we covered large geographies of our state. For example, we took up at that time many gram panchayats, the sarpanches, the local elected leaders, very voluntary. Like if you talk of Porbandar, a small district, we found that about 40 odd gram panchayats way back then in March, the sarpanches and the leaders, they said, we want to saturate our entire village with this prophylactic treatment. So this became a mass movement in different locations of the state. Similarly, many Nagarpalika areas, urban municipal bodies, and then subsequently even big cities like Ahmedabad, in a very big way, we've been able to saturate with prophylaxis, both giving them the option of Ayurveda and homeopathy. But while all this was happening, we also decided to try how to roll this out in the treatment part. So we first started with the COVID care centers and COVID health centers, where you have patients which are positive, but these are basically people who are either asymptomatic or very, very mildly symptomatic. Here too, the results were extremely heartening, and we found that a majority of them, their condition did not escalate. They were discharged well in time. And so, armed with this confidence, we also then decided to go in for treatment in the COVID hospitals. And that also, we are very fortunate that we would have a daily meeting chaired by our Honorable Chief Minister, our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, who is the Health Minister as well. So there was a very, very active support, encouragement, belief in this. So even when it came to airlifting a lot of the ingredients for this, because there was so much of a demand in the general public, we were also parallelly having a system of having a daily press media briefing where we would talk about this. The 108 number was also being provided as a source, as a bridge for the common citizens to ask for which location they could go to. Suppose there was a person calling from a small village in Gir Somnath district. They would be told that you have an Ayurveda dispensary right here. You can go there and collect the medicine. And in exceptional cases, if it was an elderly couple or it was somebody with some kind of difficulty, our team would even go to their residence at their doorstep and deliver the medicines. So with all of this, we reached a point where we felt all our pharmacies, all our medicine depots, they were all working at full throttle day and night. So there was actually a shortage of medicine. So we even had to airlift these from Uttarakhand and so on. So the kind of support and the leadership of our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri Vijay Rupani ji, and of our Honorable Health Minister and Deputy Chief Minister, Shri Nitin Patel, and the entire team of senior officers was also very heartening. And so when it came to providing treatment using the Ayurveda or the homeopathy regimen in our hospitals, the COVID hospitals as well, we found that this was done across different locations such as Gandhinagar, Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Rajkot, Surat, Bhavnagar, and in all, nearly 3,929 patients were given full-fledged treatment. But let me clarify that this was done A, with their consent, and B, it was done as an adjunct, or it was something which was an add-on along with the mainstream allopathic treatment. But the response to this has also been extremely heartwarming. Many of them got discharged well in time, and we have evidence, we've got lots of documentation of their response. They also very clearly acknowledged that there was a palpable improvement in their general health disposition, including appetite. They were feeling more active overall. They were feeling much better in even other conditions that existed earlier, like maybe a joint pain and so on, which were there. There was a there was a significant amount of mitigation of all those conditions. So in this way, we've taken the how of it, not just prophylaxis, but also treatment and treatment for asymptomatic people, and also then the COVID care centers mildly and also moderately positive. I mean, patients who are moderately affected also have been given this with very, very positive results.
Beautifully explained, madam. It feels like reading a comprehensive paper in a very accomplished journal, high impact factor journal. So coming from an author. So Geeta ji, next question from you.
Okay. Thanks, Pavanji, for giving this opportunity. So, madam, my question was, how, like you said, what you have done, and the number of people involved, etc. So, I have two questions related to it. You did this when no other state in the country had did this. No other state. You were the first to announce that 30,000 people had been given this prophylactic medicine, and out of which only few people had been found to be positive, etc., etc. One is, how did you assess this huge data, and how did you, what were the mechanisms that you have used, who were the people who had assessed it, how is the data collected, who is analyzing the data, etc. We would like to know a little bit of that. Also, we would like to know how you did this, because you said what you did. That is not what we want to know. We want to know so that other people in this country, other policymakers, can take decisions like you. What made you not what made you do this? How did you do it? How did you make this happen? Because that is something which is missing out of this whole picture. But we want to know that how you did that. How did you accomplish this?
So there are two questions here, Geeta Krishnanji. First question is about how did you, this collecting all this data involvement. So we have a very large number of people, that is specialists, doctors from the Ayurveda stream, as also from the homeopathy stream in government. So they were all involved in this. We have a full-fledged directorate of AYUSH with a large number of people. We have a Ayurvedic colleges as well. There's a university here as well. So all of them in different degrees and in different numbers depending upon the local geography, they were all involved. And another very natural part of the culture in Gujarat is the presence of a very large number of community organizations, NGOs, and people, even individuals. Many of them, when they're very committed, there's a traditional saying here that people donate in crores, and they actually keep an account. They say that they keep an account about various things of a kavadi, as it said. As they may be very particular about the way money is spent, but when it comes to philanthropy, people are very generous, and so a lot of them took up entire areas and said that this entire, for example, Khambat, I visited the Nagar Palika, so there they said a few very, very generous human beings, individuals from there came forward and said, we will take care of the prophylactic dose here. So similarly in quarantine centers, etc. So it was a combined involvement and almost like a people's involvement. We had the Vivekananda Yuvak Mandals involved, self-help groups involved, and also many religious and charitable organizations also which came together and did a widespread distribution. Even the homeopathy colleges, grant and aid colleges, so the students there, so they were all involved in this process of getting these medicines and distributing them. So this kind of an involvement was there. But when you ask about the processes that we followed, we also felt that some amount of a systematic approach to this was in order. So as I mentioned, way back in March, we sat together and even the treatment protocols, we had a complete set of deliberations with our experts, top level experts of the state belonging to both the Ayurvedic traditions and then also the homeopathic disciplines, and put together these protocols and consultations with them. So there were some issues on which they would agree. There were some issues on which there was not an agreement. So we decided that we would at least zero in on the things on which all of them agreed. So which became a common denominator, which was acceptable. And parallelly, we also wanted to have a kind of a research methodology put in place. So looking at the efficacy of these medicines and even the psychosomatic, if it had an impact, people were feeling good. We felt documenting all of this was important. And as we did all this, we felt that it was essential to keep appraising the public also of what is happening, even if the studies were premature. But we would always put a caveat there and say that this is a correlation. We are not claiming it's a causation, but nevertheless, we were trying to keep all this. And so we felt that in the process, some of these blind beliefs or some of the malpractices also which existed were also, we tried not to in any way encourage them. So they had to be a scientific basis. So this kind of an approach was done collectively by our entire team. And I must say that we got support from various quarters and different corners, whether it was the academia, whether it was the practitioners, or whether it was our own government team members, even all our collectors, district development officers, municipal commissioners, senior officers. I think they all accepted this with a great deal of not just openness. Openness is also a bit of a passive word, but I think a great deal of enthusiasm. So when I would speak to different districts, they would come up with more and more innovations as well. For example, our collector of Mahisagar, Sri Bharat. So when he said that we tried to bring in this approach of TB, something that it's a cross learning from the TB program. They said that we have something called DOTS, directly observed treatment, where you give a medicine and make sure that the person takes it. So they approached this prophylaxis method also using the DOTS approach. So that way there were many local innovations that we found, and so it became very, very uh, uh, rewarding to actually see this whole thing be accepted by people on a big scale.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Pavanji.
Thanks, ma'am. So very beautiful way to explain, ma'am, and you brought in some statistical concepts also, like correlation and not causation. Very nice to understand that. So I will again come back to the statistics part again. Uh, can I know, ma'am, for the benefit of the public, how many Ayush practitioners are there in Gujarat? Part two, how many are there in the government sector? And most importantly, I would like to know whether there have been any recruitments specifically for this COVID management for the Ayush sector.
So the answer to this is that if you look at the Ayurveda segment, we have about 755 practitioners in the government. But if you look at the practitioners who are not in the government also, it's a huge number, 22,553 plus people. And similarly for homeopathy as well, we have about 276 of the practitioners in government. And as against it, the number in the private sector is much larger, over 26,000. So we did not and have not actually gone in for a full new recruitment during this period for this program. But what we did is to also engage our PG students. We found that a large number of them, nearly 52 of them, were very eager. So we involved them and those that were interested in all these initiatives, especially even in containment zones, etc. And we also, as I said, involved many of these grant in aid colleges and students in this process. So this is the kind of number that we have, and we've tried to engage all of them. And as time goes by, we also have a large number of Ayush doctors, incidentally, who are also a part of a very important flagship program of the government called the Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram. So they are involved now in a very big way. So we have set up something called Dhanvantri Rath in not only Ahmedabad city, the corporations, but also in places like Surat. There are about 105 different such vans located in different areas of Surat corporation. And now as we speak, we have asked all our districts also to deploy these Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram teams and along with vehicles in different locations. So it serves a dual purpose, not only of screening, surveillance, but also of giving prophylaxis and also bringing about a social behavior change communication. Because often in a situation like this, when there is a pandemic, as some of us have heard this term, it becomes a panic-demic. People are very scared. There's a lot of paranoia, fear. So if there's a way to talk to people and tell them to boost their basic immunity and follow simple lifestyle practices, especially yoga, pranayama, etc., I think it goes a long way. So we've tried to involve all these people, including Ayush doctors from our own existing government health facilities of the health sector, not necessarily the Ayush division. So we have them even under the RDSK program. We have a very large army of Ayush doctors under the Ayushman Bharat health and wellness centers as well. So these are known as CHOs, community health officers. So they are also deployed and used in a big way in all these implementation strategies.
Nice, ma'am. So, Geetaji.
Yeah. So, ma'am, we understand that you are also now more than convinced about the possibilities of using Ayush in COVID as a response and and a tool in response. So, could you suggest from your wide experience and the insights that you have got, what are the new areas where Ayush can improve COVID response? Have you found something? And if you have, kindly enlighten us.
So in COVID, very interestingly, in our wards, we also tried to experiment with yoga, pranayam. Of course, for those patients who were having a mild, moderate, or even severity where they were sitting, the prone condition on ventilators. So in these category of patients, also we felt that these simple exercises, breathing techniques, even for our caregivers, because it is as important to take care of our the staff, the healthcare workers, the doctors, etc. So this is, for example, we have a Gujarat Cancer Research Institute. So one of our faculty members there, Dr. Parijat Goswami, with great pride, she shares something that she gives. We do a training, a standing training every morning for all the healthcare workers, the teams that get into the COVID wards. And similarly, at the end of the day, also, we do a quick standing training. It's like a briefing and debriefing on a daily basis. So she's been teaching them breathing techniques, and she says that people are very happy about it. They feel that they've got a big gift, a big treasure. So I think incorporating all of these into the COVID hospitals, both for the patients and the caregivers, is a very big step forward. And similarly, other than COVID also, there's something that Gujarat has been doing with a lot of resolve in a very systematic way. We started a tiny pilot project on October 2nd of 2018 with we collaborated with the Ayurvedic College, which is one of the oldest in Gujarat, which was actually set up, founded by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel and in Nadia. Then along with them and the Karamsad Medical College experts too, which is a full-fledged allopathic medical college, Pramukh Swami Medical College as it is called, and many of our experts from the state. We came up with a program called Samanvay, which a simple language translates to synthesis. So we looked at the 12 broad areas that the Ayushman Bharat, the Health and Wellness Centers program, was focusing on 12 broad areas. And in each of them, we tried to, as we were trying to train and roll out our community health officers and set up these health and wellness centers, we wanted to fortify them with Ayush practices in each of these 12 places, which were fairly detailed in a fairly systematic manner in collaboration with these. So we started with a small pilot for about 8 centers, and these included primary health centers. It also included sub-centers. And seeing the efficacy, we then decided to roll it out as the proof of concept became a pilot, and now it has been rolled out across the state. And even into the training of the CHOs, the community health officers, we have brought in the curriculum of Ayush and subsumed this into the training. And we are finding that once you fortify people with these choices, you see, for certain illnesses, it may be imperative to go for allopathy if it's an emergency, if it's a sudden thing. But then for many chronic illnesses where they're not really proper treatments available in allopathy, Ayurveda holds a lot of promise and magic. So I think this kind of a synthesis is well in order, which we have rolled out, and we want to take that further and further strengthen it over the times to come.
Yeah. Pavanji?
For a nice insight right back in 2018. So I will take this next question from the same point, that Ayush has got a lot to offer for the public health sector. This pandemic has brought that point again into force. So what exactly Ayush sector can do more within itself to increase its outreach for the public health? Any
So,
insights from you?
I would think that there are so many day-to-day ailments, and I think the most important thing is even before we come to the stage of ailments, preventive health or
Yeah.
lifestyle. If you really want to give, because why should people, 80% of the people are absolutely fine, and it's on an average, if as a thumb rule, we would say 20% at any point of time are not well. It somehow would pain me to see that most of the public health system is geared to deal with this 20%, not necessarily looking at the 80%, and which is what, in answer to that, when we had the Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Centers, it really reinforced the idea, and it really answered that question that we have to ensure that the lifestyle of people is good. If they eat right, if they follow the right exercise, lifestyle, and so on, then the tendency of people to fall ill, whether it is NCDs, non-communicable diseases, and even communicable diseases and other problems, a lot of it gets mitigated. So I think there's so much of promise that Ayush has even for this lifestyle, the health and wellness aspect, whether it is practicing yoga, having simple home remedies. So one of the things we have also tried to do is in all our schools, we've tried to encourage this concept of a Bal doctor. And right from the time they are young, if we can reinstate that faith, that belief, and that conviction in some of these simple remedies where you really trust your body, you trust nature, you try to develop your immunity. I think that, and then going by simple medication, which sometimes is also available in your own kitchen cabinet. If these things can be encouraged by giving them a small kit, which was prepared on the lines of what the Ayurveda University at Jamnagar has done, inspired by what they had done several years ago. We decided to put together these little kits with basic medicines for stomach ache, headache, cold, cough, all these things, which children can be trained in a very, very gentle, in a very sahaj, as we say, a very easy manner as they grow up, so that their faith in Ayurveda, homeopathy, all these alternate medicine therapies that our country has, if that gets more and more strengthened when they grow up, you can have a silent revolution. And similarly, if we can do this also in now in our health and wellness centers where people are not forced only to take recourse to allopathic treatment. I mean, both are absolutely invaluable, both have a role to play, but I think we must fortify people with these choices, and they may want to choose Ayurveda, homeopathy for certain ailments, and allopathy for certain other conditions. So if we do this, I think it can really become a huge movement, and more citizens and people, organizations can be involved to really ensure. And if the practice of yoga too, I mean, I have also been a regular practitioner of yoga, and we have these little communities across the country. There are so many people for 18 years, 20 years, they've been practicing it. So that 1 hour of practice daily gives you so much of energy. It makes you feel so much more better equipped to be able to deal with all the challenges the day may bring. So this is something which is a very rich inheritance of ours. It's a heritage that we have all inherited, and we must leave no stone unturned to make sure that everybody is exposed to this, and so they have this this really $1 million treasure with them, because I think the health of a person is the most precious thing.
That's true, ma'am. So, Geetaji, next question to you.
So it is a continuation of what you just now said. Now, what do you think is, or what is your plan for Ayush post COVID? What do you think? How do you think there are several new insights which you have got. So how are you going to utilize this huge resource which you have in your hand to improve the health in the state?
Ideally, if we can get in these practices and simple skills also, if we can integrate it into the curriculum, so starting from young children, if we can make it a part of their education, they can treat probably a little bit of, because I think it's very important to know your own body, to be able to listen to your body. And each one of us is different. And so some of these practices, even like being able to sit silently with yourself, reflect, meditation, pranayama, also helps you to appreciate what is it that your body is trying to say. So things like fasting, even this practice of Ekadashi fasting, I've been now doing it for about 6, 7 years and find that it is so very therapeutic. So if we can really orient our younger people also to this, so that they grow up with a lot of confidence, with a lot of faith, and a lot of let's say comfort in doing all of this, it would be a big step forward. Parallelly, there are so many skill-based programs that Government of India and the state and many other institutions, even private sector, is implementing. So if we can really try and have a large number of people with these skills, even the National Skills Development Council, etc. So this basic life BLS kind of thing, using the AYUSH systems, if we can inculcate this and have more and more people get these certifications. The certification is definitely a spin-off, but what's more important, if they can really have that faith in it and learn these techniques, I think first aid and all of this, it would go a long way in creating an army of people who are available. So almost all the urban societies can have 1 or 2 people. For example, now, as a part of COVID, we are encouraging a lot of these people to have pulse oximeters in a society and make sure that they regularly measure the oxygen saturation. So similarly, in all of these societies, if people can come forward to learn some of these techniques, simple methods, what are the medicines, what are the asanas, what is the kind of food, dietary, for example, traditionally in the part of the country that I come from, if there is a stomach upset, you feel that it's a good idea to give some yogurt with a bit of methi soaked in it. So there are many such simple practices, or drinking hot water with jeera. These are things that we grew up from childhood with. So these practices, which somewhere in these nuclear families, when you don't have joint families, maybe some of these traditions have got a little disconnected with the current generation. So there's a way to, introduce all of these. I think it will go a long way.
Ma'am, just one question, Pavanji. Just wanted to know, because this is in a continuation to a question which we asked the Secretary Ayush, Secretary Ministry of Ayush, Government of India yesterday. We asked him whether it is possible that Ayush could be developing national protocols. We think, looking at the different scenarios which has played out during this COVID period across the country, Gujarat is one excellent model where these protocol guidelines could initially be developed and implemented, which of course could be, with a national, with national implication and national resonance, but also only to begin with as a statewide, protocol for clinical practice for specific diseases. So, do you have any such plan for Ayush in the current?
We would be extremely open and happy to try this out, because on the one hand there is an acceptance among people, and but nevertheless, one question, sometimes some of the critics, some of the people who are also there, I mean, out of a good interest, one of the things that gets told is that where is the evidence, where is the basis for it? So if we can also fortify whatever we are doing, if we can supplement it, or if we can base it on certain evidences, which I'm sure is there. There are institutions like SDASA, there are so many, even NIMHANS. We've interacted with Professor Gangadharan very extensively on mental health and yoga, the Digital Academy, many such programs. So there are many such organizations across the country. And as Sri Rajesh Kotecha ji also has been a great proponent of this, and he has said there are over 90 such different experimental sites which are working on such issues. And it will be great if all of us collaborate. We might have some differences, but then we can always pick up that area which is common in agreement. While we disagree on certain things, there would be a common area of overlap. So I think it will be a great idea if these protocols can be put. And while there are small experiments, like I talked about the Samanvay project, which has also been done with the support of Sri Dr. Rajesh Kotecha and his team at Delhi. But so such experiments which have been tried out, I think the time is ripe when there is that level of acceptability, and when we feel that it is giving a lot of efficacy. If there's a way we can all come together and develop certain national protocols, I think it would be a great step forward, and I think we must do that.
Pavanji, sorry to have interrupted, but please go ahead.
It brought in some new good things. Thank you, ma'am. So, Samanvay at grassroots levels on one hand, and I just want to bring on record and sort of a brainstorming for future things, that how can effective public-private partnership, on the other hand, the samanvay between public-private players, so how can effective public-private partnership be built and nurtured to include AYUSH services in health emergencies as well as disaster mitigations or disaster situations? So what can be done? So
So as
samanvay.
Samanvay, so
And
Paramji, as I mentioned, so as I mentioned, uh, because there's so much of acceptability now of Ayurveda, not just nationally, but even internationally, and sometimes it is a bit of a pity, but I guess that's how the human mind works or human psychology works. When you find that something is very popular overseas, maybe that gives a greater sort of acceptability within our own country. Maybe we don't appreciate something that is our own legacy until somebody else from outside appreciates it and is clamoring for it. Nevertheless, whether it is driven by that or by our own love for it, it is excellent that we are now more or less, there's a great deal of acceptability. So if we can really call and ask for volunteers from the public as well, and if we can teach them the basics, as I said, through some kind of certification courses, even MOOCs, massive online open courses. There is the Swayam Prabha platform of the Ministry of Human Resources Development. So many such possibilities of, and also some basic life support program, first aid kind of thing, using Ayush as well, even for mental ailments. For example, now the 1,000 days that we keep talking about, which is such a valuable. If you really want to have India emerge as the cognitive capital of the world, I think if we really look at 100 billion neural networks that develop in the first 1,000 days, from the time of conception to the time the baby is about 2 years old. So if the mothers can be trained on various things, how do you give stimulation to various sensory perceptions so that the cognitive nutrition, not just the physical nutrition. So there are so many such invaluable things that the Ayush and the learnings from Ayush give us. And of course, it has to be, you have to transpose and see it in a atmosphere of, in a proper rational way of synthesizing with the allopathic learnings as well, so that we don't inadvertently support or propagate certain things which may have a blind element of a superstition or faith in it. But then there are many things which are very scientific and which have a lot of empirical evidence. So if we can come together and work on all these aspects, I think it will benefit a whole lot of people. There's a whole lot of hunger in the minds of people, acceptability. So I think this would be a very, very opportune time in the, if you look at it historically, this is a very opportune time to really talk of this. We have the International Day of Yoga. So now when all these things are being widely accepted worldwide, I think we as a country should take leadership and are taking leadership. And by really making this a widespread movement, by making it available at the doorstep of any citizen, to be able to learn these techniques, even if not to practice or for others, even for their own self. If everybody were given this choice of equipping themselves with the basic life support things, you can call it Ayush 101, things like that, a basic course, so that they learn of the basic things that a normal life, right from from conception, all life cycle based to the time you're elderly and a senior citizen. What are the do's and don'ts, dinacharya, what can you do? And then you tweak it based on your own body by listening to your own body. What is it that customize it to yourself? So there's so much naturopathy. All of these, I think, are great things. It's a great treasure, and we must propagate this in a big way.
That's nice, ma'am. Very nice, very comprehensive answers. So we can build up on that for some future plans also. Geeta ji.
Yes, yes. So, I would like to know what was the most encouraging moment while you were using Ayush in the COVID management program? Like, if, what made you think that okay, I am doing the right thing? Probably something would have told you that you are doing the right thing. So that is one. And what were the barriers that you found which was unsurmountable at this particular moment, and which you would think over a period of time, and if you do certain things, we will be able to overcome?
So I think like they say, when we started rolling this out, we didn't anticipate, while we had very good support from all our team members, we didn't expect that this would have such a big mass appeal. So I'm very, very happy to share that Arsenicum album alone, we have the beneficiaries, people who have taken it in the state of Gujarat is over 2 crore 57 lakh 51,000 people. So that was the kind of mass acceptability demand, and people would ask, phone up and ask for it, come and collect it. Similarly, Samsamvati also, more than 21 lakh tablets, doses have been given. And then most popular was also, in spite of it being bitter, in spite of it having a taste which is not very palatable initially, this Amrit Pay or Ukara as we call it, Kada. So about 5 crore doses have been given. So these are all very, very overwhelming articulation of the popularity of the success that people, because ultimately the proof of it is in the appeal that people have for something like this. So that was very, very heartening. But maybe the difficulties, when you say challenges, sometimes while there is a mass acceptance, there is still, we find a mindset issue in some of the segments, especially in the case of doctors in some of our allopathic institutions. While it is also a bit of a paradox that some of these top doctors, when they want some treatment for themselves or for the near and dear ones, they also seem to have a lot of faith in the Ayush systems. So there is a bit of a paradox there. But I think if we can, so sometimes these mindsets were also a bit of a block. And maybe we also need a little more receptivity at all levels, including scientific institutions like ICMR. If we can all come to it, is beginning to happen. These are very, very promising historic times when all these things are opening up. But a little more promise, a little more acceptability in all these research laboratories, institution ethics committee, which we are able to push through. But if there's a greater acceptability, I think these are the only challenges that I see. But otherwise, it has been a very, very positive response that we've got.
Thank you, ma'am. In fact, I would request Pavanji, because we are running out of time, I would request Pavanji to ask the last question.
Okay, ma'am. It was such a fun and it was such a good, inspiring insights from you. So, as Geeta ji has said, we are running out of time. So, I will combine two questions together and just ask for your personal message, if any, to the private Ayurvedic practitioners. And second, as it heartened us to understand from you, coming straight from you, that the allopathic practitioners prefer in their personal life some Ayush medications. So we would like to share some personal experience that you use Ayush medications.
Right. So I'll probably start with the first one to say that I think my only request to all the private practitioners also is that by and large, if we are really competent in what we are doing, because sometimes if we are not competent, there is a tendency even in the Ayush doctors to want to mimic and sort of follow the allopathic practitioners. So having studied Ayurveda, I know that it might be a little more lucrative to become an MBBS doctor or follow the allopathic systems. But it might be a good idea if you're really competent, if you're really good. We find that people do respect it, and there's a huge clientele that you can get. So if that service can be done by all of us in terms of really, being skilled, going on, updating our skills, attending conferences, seminars, doing research, questioning, to a great step forward. And in terms of my own personal faith, there are many things. I mean, many, many years ago, nearly about 25 years ago, we came across one of our senior colleagues. He was also an IS officer, but a very competent homeopathy practitioner. And so for the next 10 years, his name was Mr. Vinay Sharma, till he lived. I don't remember having even touched any antibiotic. So that is the kind of efficacy. But provided the doctor there is really competent, they're really good, we can all take help of these, which often have very few side effects. That's the belief. And the efficacy also, it is not to say that it takes much longer. On many occasions, we've seen that it would respond to these homeopathy or Ayush medicines very soon. Similarly, on Ayurveda front as well, there are so many little practices from childhood, having being born and brought up in a family that believed in a lot of these very simple traditional practices. For example, my grandfather, I mean, he's probably my first guru. I don't remember as a child, he lived the life of a person in an ashram. I mean, he used to live like a recluse, but with a lot of learning, a great savant. So he would always have jeera water, and that is something that he would always drink. So even if it is adrak pani, we call it chukka vellam also in some parts of India. So if you have ginger and you boil it in water, and that is regularly taken, I think that is very good. So I practice that too now. So we have two uh, cloves of pepper, one piece of cinnamon, one small piece of ginger, one clove, and two leaves of basil tulsi put, and we boil this into an infusion and keep drinking this through the day. I think this really does a lot of good to our throat and so on. And of course, golden milk. So we make it a point to have a nice big mug of hot milk with cow's ghee in it, and turmeric and soot. Soot is dried ginger with chavanprash also. So I think these simple things, if we practice this, it does, I think, help us develop our immunity. And of course, kanthil and these little medicines, honey, which does a lot of good. I'm a singer myself. So for the throat, I found that lukewarm water and honey, again, has a lot of magical impact. And of course, the pranayam and yoga, meditation, it's absolutely essential that while we run around achieving a lot of success in the world outside, it would be a great gift to ourselves if we spent at least 15 minutes a day with ourselves. And you could also do that if you are fond of music by chanting the names, as we call Namaswaranam, Nam Sankirtan. So these are all little practices which are a part of our ancient traditions, Nad Yoga, or even Ayurveda, homeopathy. So all these different traditions, it's about having a better lifestyle. And if it's a very integrated, balanced, nice lifestyle that we can all follow, we would be, in a true sense, swastha. We would be sort of grounded in ourselves, balanced in ourselves. And then we can really do a lot of things for making this world a better place to live. So I do hope all of you have some takeaways from this and practice whatever you have shraddha in, whatever you have faith in out of all this, and become great champions of these inheritances that we've got. Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. It was a wonderful time for all of us. A lot of information and a lot of questions asked. These are not questions usually coming up in regular interviews, because usually we have been seeing all are too technical in terms of which medicine you give, what was the symptom, etc., etc. And this is something which gives you an insight into the policymakers' decision making process, why you took a decision. And we have been very, very happy with the kind of work which had happened in Gujarat and how you had explained it, and with the kind of response we are getting here in the Facebook, in YouTube, and also in this particular platform. We are overwhelmed with questions. If there are something which we have not asked, and probably we can get some benefit out of asking you this question and getting back an information back to the people, we might contact you. But thank you so much for being our most valuable guest today. And I hope that your work with COVID will bring out very good results, and the state will shine as one of the best examples across the whole world. Thank you so much, madam.
Thank you so much, Geeta Krishnanji and Pavanji, and all of the viewers out there. Namaste.